Well, hello, good evening, everybody. Well, it's evening here. I don't know what time you're watching this video, but it's evening at my place, and I want to thank you guys for watching. It's This Time with Chaplain Ken, and I'm your host, Chaplain Kenneth. We're still going through the book of How to Get Out of Your Own Way, Practical Lessons. And you can see the author down there at the bottom, Mark Goldston and Philip Goldberg. Practical lessons for conquering procrastination, fear, envy, neediness, guilt, and more. Today we're doing chapter 5, and chapter 5 is about waiting until it's too late. Y'all ever do that before? Wait for something for too long and you missed your opportunity? Yes. On a small scale, it's kind of like waiting for that sale to come on, or waiting for the prices to drop and you go get your item and it's already gone, or the prices to come down on something, it never happens. Or maybe waiting for the best time to buy a house. We do that. We kind of wait. We play the market sometimes, but just sometimes we wait a little bit too long. This chapter is not about those things. Those are very common things. This chapter is more about waiting until it's too late before you make things right. Make things right between who and what. Well, primarily we're going to focus on relationships. Waiting too long in order to make relationships right, because there's bigger consequences in life. The chapter he writes about a businessman who works all his life, and he's near the end of his age, and he realizes he spent more time at the business than he did with his own family. The kids grew up without him. The wife and him haven't been intimate. And the common regret is how does he put it, no dying man ever wished he spent more time at the office. It's a pretty wise saying. But you get the drift, right? So we're looking at waiting for the last moment. Maybe you're not a businessman, maybe you don't have that experience back behind you. But let's take another career, a military career, for instance. I've known lots of people that spent way too much time at the shop instead of going home when it was 5 or 4 or whenever it was time to go home. And they would stay a couple hours, 3, 4 hours late at work instead of going home and spending too much time, because being a veteran from the Air Force, you're taught the mission comes first, and you're taught that for years and years and years. And let's say you're in for 10 years, for 15, maybe for 20 years, that gets drilled into you that the mission comes first. In fact, on a hierarchy of things, it's the mission, the country, and then family somewhere in there, and then at the end is God. But the mission always comes first, so whatever the mission dictates, that's what we're supposed to do. And so we're taught that in military careers, that that's the first thing we need to be thinking about. And some people take it. They accept it, they live by it. But as a result, there's a payoff. There's a debt that needs to be paid, because if that comes first, why does the family come almost near last? Doesn't seem right. It seems unbalanced. But for military purposes, and in that lifestyle, maybe there's nothing wrong with it if you're single. But it gets kind of tricky when you have family, because family gets left behind. You get deployed, you get sent on TDYs, you go on remote tours all by yourself because you can't take the family because it's a dangerous spot in the world. Those kinds of things. And before you know it, you don't know who your family is. And then you don't know, the kids don't know who mom or dad is when they come back from deployment. And lives get hurt. And so, after a while, making that right, it makes it difficult the longer it goes on. But it's not just those things. Even in ministry, let me speak to the pastors or the chaplains that are out there, and maybe even the counselors. Even in ministry, you can lose yourself. You can lose yourself in ministry by saying to yourself, I've been called. This is God's work, and God comes first. Absolutely, He comes first. But He is also a balanced God, and so He wants us to take care of our families as well. So if our family's suffering because we're trying to do good, and we're being separated from our loved ones this way, then it begins to become unbalanced and unhealthy for everybody. You may be good for John Doe out there on the street. Well, what's happening to your kids? What's happening to your wife? What's happening back home? We have to learn to balance one with the other, even in ministry. So, so making things right in those kind of circumstances, boy, those are some tough hills to climb, because not only do you have to fix the relationship between you and your kids or your spouse, but you also have to help them resolve how they view God over all of this. God took mom or dad away because he was too busy doing that rather than spending time with them. And so you have to, it's going to sour their outlook, their view on religion and God and all that stuff. So we got to be careful on how we do this. So how do you make those things right? So it gets kind of tricky, doesn't it? It gets kind of tough. It's much easier, and it's in the, it's kind of implied in the book. It's much easier to continue on with blinders on and pretend everything's all right, that you're focused on one thing and one thing only. And if it's laudable, that even makes it worse, because now you don't know when to stop. Because you're supposed to, because you're called to, because you have this mission that you've been put on, and that takes precedence over everything. Yeah, it gets kind of tricky. So he mentions also the people that he's worked with in the past, and the most likely regret that we have in waiting too long is when somebody passes away. When somebody passes away in your life, you kind of wish you'd spent more time with them. You have those feelings and those thoughts, those things that happen to you. So he mentions that, and he gives an example, but you have your own example too, don't you? And maybe it's not somebody who's passed away. Maybe you've had a parent that's too toxic for you, and you stepped away from that relationship, and now they're passing away, and you've kind of insulated yourself from all the drama and the chaos at home. But then as a result, when things get tough and it's winding down for them, now all of a sudden, if you have time to prepare and work on it, now you have to figure out how you're going to work on it. What are you going to say? Now you realize you got a whole lot of junk that you got to work through in order to be able to bridge that gap to come to a place where you guys can heal. And so it makes it difficult. So we shouldn't wait too long. This is why we're encouraged, even in Scripture, to make things right along the way when it goes wrong. And do what you can so you don't dragging a whole lot of baggage behind you in your life. It gets heavy after a while. Some of you know, I think I've shared it before in other podcasts, that I do chaplain work in a hospice company. And so when I visit with patients in the hospice in a facility, there's a difference. Some in the facilities, and it's sad, and I'll be honest with you, sometimes it's sad because family don't come out too much. They're afraid to. They don't want to watch their loved one passing away before their eyes. It's hard to talk to mom or dad or see mom when they're suffering with Alzheimer's. And so, I get that. And so sometimes those things push us away until it's too late and we can't go back and see mom that one last time. And so we carry that around with us for quite a bit. And it's different, though, with the people that are able to keep mom and dad at home. There's a difference. They keep mom at home. They take care of mom. They feed mom soft foods that they cook themselves. It's not thrown in a blender, and they have to drink it out of a cup in some places. It is. It's not easy to watch, but they make it themselves, and they make it palatable. They do their best to take care of mom or dad and their loved one, and there's a difference when that person passes away than the ones who don't show up from there, and it takes a toll on them. So the guy encourages in this chapter 5 is not to wait too long to make things right between you and a loved one, because you never know how things will end up. It's better to work through those things. So the usable insight is you don't have to wait for someone to die before you realize what's important. Let me encourage you to realize what is important in your life today. Is the job more important than your family? If it is, then you need to stop and reassess that, because that's going to take you down an ugly, ugly road. Is the mission more important than your family? If you got young ones and they're growing up 10, 11, 13 years old. Those are formative years. Even younger than that, those are very important years for mom or dad to be around. So you may have to make some life changes and career changes so you can recognize what's harming and hurting your family. He suggests imagine yourself at 80 looking back at your life. Let's pretend that you're 80 years old and ask yourself what it would take to make you feel that you've lived a meaningful life. What does a meaningful life look like to you? Is it a growing business? Is it the millions? Is it the fame? Look what's happening to Johnny Depp. He got money, he got fame, he got popularity. Look at what's happening. His life is a soap opera now. Do you think he's going to be happy when he's older, looking back at that and realizing, yeah, that was a great time? No, it was a difficult time. Think about all the things that people have done in their lives and ask yourself, you wonder, are they happy? Was it really fulfilling? Would it be fulfilling to you then? If you continue living the way you are, will you be able to say at age 80 that everything important has been resolved and completed? This is the tough question. And this is a question where you sit with you and God and you talk to Him about it and you ask Him to show you what needs to be fixed, what needs to be resolved. What baggage have you been carrying for such a long time? And then how do you make resolution and how do you fix those things? How do you at least begin to work on those things? Because the more you can unload off of your shoulders in your life, and even through your spiritual routine, how to get rid of that stuff through God, yeah, do it now that you have the energy and the opportunity, because you never know when the other party's not going to be able to reciprocate. And then he says, what can you do differently starting today that will get you to where you want to be at 80? I know some families sometimes are very, very toxic and you want to run from them. And you stay away from them for so long that it becomes very comfortable. And then you might lose somebody in that family and you think to yourself, I've got to fix this. But you know what? The longer you wait, the tougher it is. We get so accustomed as humans, in human nature, we get so accustomed to the life that we've created because, let's be honest, we create the life we do because we want to be comfortable. We adopt the mindsets that we adopt because it works for us. It may not work for everybody else, but it works for us. It may damage everybody else in our lives, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm okay. Here's an example. I think I've shared this with you before. My anger when I was younger helped me to keep the fear away. It kept people away too. And I convinced myself that was okay because now they can't hurt me. I was afraid of being hurt. And so I stayed a hard, angry, bitter young man. And I told myself that I'm good. If nobody liked me, hey, that's their problem. I feel safe. But it didn't lead me. I didn't have a lot of friends. It didn't help me out in the long run. Because then I stayed angry for no reason. And it was just an angry old man. For no reason. Nobody was making me angry. No one was doing anything to me. So I had to learn how to undo all of that. So we create our world around us to make us comfortable. And I explained it this way to somebody once. We create this box that we fit ourselves into to protect us, to hem us in, to surround us, to keep the bad influences away, and keeps me safe. But the only problem is that anybody else that's around us is also stuck in that box, and you won't let them breathe. And so you begin to damage the people around you. You inside your mind and in your heart, you're thinking everything's good. I'm good. If they don't like it, that's their problem. I'm good. But the problem is your relationships with people are being damaged at the same time. So it takes a little bit of looking into your life and realizing, you know what, yeah, this path is not going to suit me too well. It's not going to help me. By the time I'm 80, what am I going to have? I'm going to have this little bitty box with nobody in it but me. Because I've run everybody away. With anger, with fear, with whatever. And then he says, after he asks, what can you do differently starting today that'll get you there where you want to be? And then he says, now start doing it. Many people are saying, easier said than done, Ken. I'll put my hand up. It takes a lot of work. It does. It takes a lot of honesty and openness to be able to look at your life and realize, yeah, this looks a little jacked up. Maybe I should try something different. Maybe I should do something new. And then seeking some help to figure that out. A good chaplain, a good pastor, a good counselor, a good therapist. If you could sit with a good friend that is wise beyond their years, that can help you figure out some of these things and point these things out to you. So let me encourage you to reach out. Look inside first, and then reach outside to find somebody that you can talk with and communicate with. So be open to. They can help you point some things out. I'm available if you like. You can text me. You can write responses to this podcast. You can catch me on Facebook, Rumble, and I even put these on LinkedIn. If any of you guys are on LinkedIn, you can see them there as well. I did YouTube, but they're kind of weird right now. So some of my older ones, book reviews, are on YouTube. You can check those out. It's under the same title, Time with Chaplain Ken, and you can check those out there. But tell me what you think. Again, we're going through this book, Get Out of Your Own Way. And yeah, so waiting to put things off and waiting to for the last minute until it's too late, and that's not the way to go. So look at your life, pray about it, consider it, and whatever God shows you, start working on it in somebody. Okay? Well, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something today. I want you to remember that God loves you very much, and to pay attention to yourself. Okay? And I'll see you the next time.